Stanford University.
Welcome to Stanford Medicine's 11th Annual Contemplation by Design Summit. I'm Dr. Enrich, the founder and director of Contemplation by Design. It's my distinct honor to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Roger Walsh, who will be providing an interactive workshop titled Deepening Meditation for Experienced Practitioners. Dr. Walsh is a professor emeritus of psychiatry, philosophy, and anthropology at the University of California, whose research focuses on topics such as meditation, psychological well-being, wisdom, and the psychological roots of our global crises. His books include Essential Spirituality, as well as The World of Shamanism, and his research and writings have received over 20 national and international awards. He is a student and researcher of contemplative practices, an authorized Lama in Tibetan Buddhism, and co-host of the podcast Deep Transformation, Self, Society, Spirit, with listeners in over 170 countries. This podcast is available at www.deeptransformation.io. His more curious careers include having been a circus acrobat and having had an extremely brief and unsuccessful career as a stand-up comedian. Without further ado, please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Roger Walsh.
Thank you so much. Well, what a gift to be able to take this time to be together and to practice together. We were just, Dr. Rich and I were just comparing notes from our Stanford student days and how much has changed, that there's actually courses like this and offerings like this. So just an incredible gift. The focus for today is on practices for experienced, those of you who have some experience with contemplative practices, looking at practices which can be done relatively quickly without a lot of extra time demands to deepen practice and enrich in multiple ways. And so what I'd like to do today is offer a series of maybe half a dozen practices that can fill out your practice and hopefully deepen it in palpable ways for you. Let's begin, as is common in some traditions, with just setting an intention. And let's set the intention that our time together may serve to foster our well-being and awakening. And not only ours, but that it may enable us to be ever more effective instruments for the welfare and awakening of all. So we're setting a big picture context and intention, one that is all embracing. And there's something very powerful about intentions which are fully encompassing, because then there's no reservation, hesitation in the mind, or if it is, it flushes it up and we can work with it. But so there's something very beautiful and powerful about those kind of intentions which aim for the good of everyone. Okay, well, one of the things that happens with meditation, and that one of the most well-known benefits, is that it can help with relaxation and calm and ease. In fact, when meditation was first becoming popular in the West, it was sometimes there was a movement of so-called interpreting as meditation very reductionistically and inadequately as a relaxation response. It certainly is that, but it's also a lot more, as you all know. But calm or peace or relaxation is a very valuable benefit of practice, but also a practice that can be done specifically and that can provide the kind of base of relaxation and calm that allows practice to proceed more deeply and effectively. As we all know, the mind has a mind of its own. It's scattered, it's usually agitated, and part of the work of practice is to let the mind settle, not by struggling with it in any way, not by fighting it. If you fight the mind, it will win, I guarantee, but by practices that specifically allow relaxation. So let's start with just doing a relaxation practice, meditation. We'll just use the breath. So this will be a pure meditation exercise. So I invite you to just make yourself comfortable and pay attention to posture. Always good and beneficial, helpful to set the posture because of the psychosomatic link. So we want a posture that is relatively erect. So you hold the spine relatively erect, the head relatively erect, and then just see if you can let the let the rest of the body relax. There's that combination of an erect spine and relaxation of the rest of the body that evokes that combination of alertness and relaxation that we want. And now I invite you to pay attention to the breath and just allow yourself to breathe naturally. Just bring awareness to the breath. You've all done this. And I invite you to breathe slowly and deeply. And as you do, just pay close attention to the breath and the sensations around the chest. And notice that the inhalation is an active process, but the exhalation can be simply a letting go. So breathe in and let go. Breathe in and let go. Breathe in and just let go. And as you do, notice that there's an automatic tendency for the muscles around the chest to relax with each exhalation. So you breathe in and let go, and just notice the relaxation in the muscles around the chest and shoulders. So it's a twofold process of breathing in and just letting go, and as you do, noticing the relaxation. And notice that there's an automatic tendency for the relaxation in the chest to just spread, the shoulders to relax and release and fall down a bit, for the abdomen to relax, the pelvis, the neck, and the jaw. And all you're doing is breathing in and letting go. Breathing in and just let go. Beautiful. And already you've discovered one of the secrets of meditation and relaxation. And the secret, one of the great secrets of relaxation, is it's not something you do, it's something you allow. So you breathe in and let go. Breathe in and let go. And notice the body becoming increasingly relaxed with each breath. And there's a way of increasing the relaxation still further, and that is on the out breath, just allowing yourself to sigh, to let an audible sigh out as you let the breath go and as you release. So you breathe in. Ah, breathe in. Ah, and just notice how that enhances the relaxation, the muscles around the chest and shoulders release to another level. Now, one of the interesting things about relaxation is that no matter how relaxed you are, it's always possible, it seems, to relax more. So what I'm going to do now is to just give you a chance to discover that for yourself. And I'm going to count to 3. When I count to 3, I want you to just allow your relaxation to double. So I'm going to count to 3, and on the 3, you're going to allow your relaxation to double. 1, 2, 3. Allow your relaxation to double. Yeah. Again, notice it's not a doing or a making something happen. It's just an allowing. Allowing your relaxation to double. Beautiful. And just enjoy that. Enjoy the feeling of relaxation. Joy is one of the beneficial qualities of heart-mind that just softens and eases the mind and releases painful emotions and reactions and defenses. So joyful relaxation. Beautiful. Mm. And now, if you'd like, we can add a beautiful little touch from Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Vietnamese Buddhist monk, peace activist. And he suggested that we just say quietly to ourselves as we're breathing, on the in-breath, say, breathing in, I smile. On the out-breath, breathing out, I relax. This is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I relax. This is a wonderful moment. Enjoy this moment. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I relax. This is a wonderful moment. Beautiful. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to bring your attention back to our community, but I invite you to do that, to switch attention in a very special way. That is, I invite you to bring your awareness back to our community, not by jumping out of that your relaxed, beautiful, joyful state, but by rather coming from that relaxed, joyful state and embracing the experience of opening to our group. So when you're ready, open your eyes and from that beautiful, relaxed space, please bring your attention back here. I'm going to ask you to do something. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is completely relaxed and 10 is utterly agitated, how would you rate yourself now? And your mind will know a number to come up with. How would you rate your relaxation now on a scale of utterly relaxed 1, completely agitated 10? And how would you rate your level of relaxation before we began? Good. So it's just a little marker you can use if you want to have a measure of the impact of this kind of practice. So now I'd just like to give time to a few of you to share any experiences or insights that came up with that. And uh, sometimes with this exercise, people are just very, very laid back. There's not a lot of comments. So if that happens, we'll move on. But one of the beauties of having a group like this of experienced practitioners is that anyone's insight can become everyone's insight, and each person's experience can be shared. So consider it as a gift to everyone if there's something you have that you'd like to share, and which that would be beautiful for all of us. So. Uh, I can imagine the conditioning going the other way around, that we tend to tense up around painful experiences and contract and get defensive. And I can imagine if you're having a joyful anticipatory response, that maybe that reduces the tendency to defensiveness and contraction around the difficulty. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Doesn't look like we have anyone else, so let's move on to, we have a foundation now, and just to notice that before actually moving on, just to draw on those experiences, just to make a mental note about them, that this is relaxation is something that can become a skill pretty quickly. A lot of meditation like concentration, etc., A lot of those practices can be fairly demanding and take a lot of time, but relaxation is a skill that can be learned quite quickly. So with these kind of simple exercises, we can calm the mind and get a meditation session, or any challenging life situation. We can approach it from a more calm, equanimous state. So just keep that in mind, and keep the possibility that one can always relax more deeply in mind too. Okay, let's move on to a practice of gratitude. And gratitude's a beautiful state, emotion, which really has a number of benefits, and of course, the benefits are recognized in multiple traditions. And it has the capacity for bringing joy and calm and appreciation of others. It can melt painful emotional reactions like anger and fear. So gratitude's a really beautiful state to be able to bring online and undergird our other practices. And one of the, I'm going to suggest we do a practice, and then we can reflect a little on how valuable this is and ways we can bring gratitude more continuously into life. There's a practice in Tibetan Buddhism on the what's called a free and well-favored life. A free and well-favored life is a life that probably most of us are enjoying, and that is it's free of major impediments to one's life and spiritual practice. It's free of significant illness or extreme poverty or intellectual, mental deficits, etc. And it's favored with a variety of wonderful things, such as being in a time and place and country where we're free to practice these. You know, it's amazing that merely, say, 60 years ago, these practices were almost completely unknown in the West. So we're fortunate to be in a time and a place when we can practice these. And we're fortunate to be in a country where we can practice them. And, you know, we're drawing on practices from a variety of traditions, but it's good to remember that for hundreds and hundreds of years, if you practice a tradition other than the authorized one, you're at risk of ending up on a funeral pyre. So we have the situation, we have these incredible teachings and practices available to us. We have resources like what Stanford is offering us right now. So there's a lot to be grateful for. And an interesting reflection, which I now invite you to do, is to reflect on all the things that have to come together before you can be sitting here right now practicing and learning. So I just invite you to take a couple of minutes to reflect on what are some of the boundless number of conditions and opportunities that had to come together before each of us could be sitting here right now, learning and meditating and healing and growing. So you might just reflect, and you can run through everything from your health and gratitude for it to the fact that there are farmers out there, farming and creating crops and food for us to. It's an endless list. So just take a moment and think of all the things that had to come together before we could be sitting and meditating and reflecting here together. And if any of them weren't going well, if there wasn't peace, if there was a famine, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. So just think of all the good fortune that is ours. And take a moment to feel grateful for all these circumstances and all the people who make this possible. There are miners on other continents who mined the rare elements to make our computers. There are seamen and seawomen who transported elements across the ocean. There are engineers and craftspeople who put these computers together, people laboring over factory lines, endless number of people involved and contributing, all of them necessary so we can be here together. The fertility of the earth, the radiance of the sun. It's an endless number of people and entities and factors that we can be grateful for and which are essential for us to be here in this moment. And be grateful to yourself. You studied, you worked, you've done a lot yourself to create the opportunity to be here. You chose to prioritize this and your learning and your growth. Boundless gratitude. And as you reflect, you realize there's almost everyone on earth was involved in some way in making it possible for us to be here. The people who mined the minerals were fed by farmers in their countries. The police made it possible for them to mine in safety. On and on and on, a boundless network of benefactors. There are a boundless number of people and entities to which we can be grateful. Beautiful. And just feel the gratitude and feel the joy that goes with it, the delight. Joy is a natural consequence of gratitude. And in every moment, anytime we reflect deeply enough, we realize that we are the beneficiaries of a boundless network of benefactors to whom we can feel gratitude. Beautiful. And again, in a moment, I'm going to invite you to come back to our community, bring your awareness back. But again, I'm going to invite you to do it in a way which comes to our community from a feeling of gratitude rather than jumping back. oh, one more thing, just one more thing about gratitude. While you just feel the gratitude and see if there's a particular body posture associated with it. And if so, you might want to just accentuate that body posture a little bit. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, and when you're ready, open your field of awareness to include our group, coming from the gratitude, not jumping back out of it. Wonderful. Oh, what a delight. Yeah. Ah, that feels so wonderful. Gratitude is a beautiful practice, as you hopefully experienced. Brings joy, it brings the release of anger, resentment in particular, and it releases contraction of various kinds. And this became a very central practice in my life 7 years ago, when a day when a dear friend and my wife were having lunch together. And that dear friend is Richard Miller, who I see is on this call. And Richard asked my wife, who he didn't know very well at the time, but he wanted to know better. He said, tell me, I'd love to know, what's your spiritual practice? And my wife said, I'm practicing gratitude. Oh, that's nice. Well, she said that before. Yeah, no big deal. That evening, we went out to dinner and arrived at a friend's place. And 5 minutes after we got there, my wife, Frances, experienced dizziness and chest pains. And 5 hours later, she was dead. And because that was one of the last things she said, the statement about practicing gratitude really stuck in my mind. And it didn't take many mornings of waking up to realize that I could allow the mind to go down the route it was inclined to go of, oh, poor me, Francis is gone, I'm by myself, I'm alone, I got a, how terrible, woe is me. Or as the first thought of the day, I could practice gratitude and have the mind focus on, thank you, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have friends, I have resources, I have a roof over my head, I have this, I have that. Again, it's a long list. It didn't eradicate the grief, of course, but it did ameliorate it significantly, and did stop all the mental chatter and endless woe is me's that go with grief. So it was a healing balm. And I'm deeply grateful to Richard for asking that question, and of course, deeply grateful to my wife. And so now I try to make the first thought of the morning one of gratitude. Thank you for this day. And usually, it can be a long list, or if I'm keeping it short, thank you for this day. Thank you for life, for health, for well-being, and for being able to practice. It just sets the day. There's something very valuable about the first and last thought of the day. As you wake up, if you can choose a thought to insert, it sets the mind in a particular train, because as you wake up, the mind's, unless you've been in a dream of some kind, intense dream, the mind is usually fairly calm. It hasn't gone down its ruts and routines and started get agitated. So it's a very potent time to insert a thought. And so I highly encourage thinking what you would like to have as the first thought of the day. because it will set the direction for the day. It'll evoke an emotion, and it will call forth a corresponding train of thought, and will it's a very powerful one. There's a name in yoga, which I can't remember, but perhaps Richard can if he wants to come on. Richard's a yoga teacher and a master of yogic tradition, where when the mind is still, one just drops a thought in, and knowing that that thought will have great power when the mind is calm and relaxed and still. So I encourage you to think of a thought that you'd like to wake up to and set your day accordingly. And then if you want another little exercise, if you'd like to have a day of gratitude, one thing, a lot of gratitude exercises. And as Dr. Rich mentions, I have a book, Essential Spirituality, the 7 Central Practices, and that contains a set of practices for cultivating the key qualities and capacities of heart and mind that the great sages recommend. And there's a series of practices on gratitude there. But just one more for a day of gratitude, if you want. Every person you meet, make a commitment for one day, every person you meet, you're going to find a reason to feel grateful for. I'm willing to bet you'll have a different day. So gratitude. Let's see. Let's open it up, and please, again, it's such a gift if you would be willing to share something of your experience and comment. Your insight then becomes our insight. So yeah, thank you. Anything to be shared. Thank you. Hadn't thought of that during this particular meditation, but of course, the beauty of the gratitude practice is you can do it boundlessly outward to an endless network of people. You can do it back in history to our ancestors. I mean, if a single one of them, think of the thousands of forebears we've had, and what some of them had to go through, the lives they probably had to deal with, the horrendous suffering. If a single one of them had given up and said, and just forget it, I'm out of here, we wouldn't be here. So we are the benefactors of countless generations of people who had the courage and fortitude to go through everything they did and give everything they did so that we and so many others could live. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Beautiful. Thank you. I hadn't even thought of that. There's an endless number of things to be grateful for. It's wonderful once you adopt this mindset of like, oh, yeah, I never thought of. Yeah, of course, I can be grateful to have a library. That's no small thing. But yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah. We have worked with calm, relaxation. We've explored gratitude. Let's just focus on some emotions and some very simple practices for evoking emotions. Emotions are they're the charge of life. And we live so much of our lives to avoid some emotions and to cultivate others. And if you look around our consumer society, you find, and you look at all the incredibly expensive toys which people in our country have, it's interesting to realize that all those expensive toys are basically, most cases, they're designed to elicit positive emotions. And it's nice if you can afford the expensive toys, but it's even nicer to be able to elicit the emotions by simply by choice and practice. So let's take a moment and do some very simple, quick emotional evocations. So I invite you to just go back into a relaxed place and state. Take some slow, deep breaths. And notice your emotional state. What are you feeling right now? Notice that. And now notice how your emotions may change over the next minute. Because now I'm going to invite you to just put a smile on your face. And notice what happens. Yeah, see what you notice. I notice I feel happy just looking at all your smiles. Wonderful. Okay. And now just to take some slow, deep breaths again. And I'm going to name some emotions. And what I invite you to do is to repeat the emotion, the name to yourself. Maybe once, a couple of times, however much you wish. And just notice what happens. And there'll be primarily emotions. A couple of them will be mind states. Okay. And just breathe slowly and deeply. Calm. And just repeat that to yourself at whatever pace, slowly, gently. Just notice what happens. Calm. Good. Happiness. Happiness. Joy. joy, warm-heartedness, warm feelings of care, warm-heartedness. Love, 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 compassion, compassion for others in pain, caring, compassion for others in pain. And see if there's another emotion you would like to evoke. And just name it to yourself. Let the mind respond spontaneously and naturally as it tends to. Beautiful. And feel what it's like to have evoked those qualities of heart and mind. And when you're ready again, I invite you to bring your awareness back to encompass our community. Not jumping out of or away from those emotions, but just bringing them back with you. Ah, wonderful. Okay. And again, love to have you share your experience or any insights you may have had. Again, it's a gift to us all, if you would. So, yeah, please, any responses, comments, questions, and sharings of experience. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, kind of surprising to isn't it? That, and we can go a lifetime without knowing it. Yeah. That's one of the recurrent discoveries of meditation. I mean, what a tragedy that our culture is ignorant of so many of these capacities we have. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. And one of the beautiful things about meditation practice is that as we practice, the mind becomes more malleable or plastic. In fact, in Buddhist psychology, two of the positive qualities of mind that are cultivated by meditation and by spiritual practice in general, what are the qualities which are named malleability and agility. Malleability is the capacity of the mind to to shift and change as appropriate. And agility is the capacity for it to change quickly and rapidly, to move quickly, precisely between different states as needed. So, and the beautiful thing about practice is that practice cultivates these kind of emotions, but it also cultivates the capacity to elicit beneficial states more quickly and easily. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad you did. Yeah, it's a very important question in practice. And uh, there's a and there are traps around these, and there are traps around emotions in general, many, many traps, and most of us have fallen into a number of them. But there's a subtle one that comes on and tricky one that comes online with practice. And that is once we develop the capacity for working with emotions and for cultivating what we call positive emotions and working with and releasing what we call negative emotions, which are not good terms, but let's use it for now. There is a tendency to, once we have the capacity of working with them, there's a tendency and a trap to get more averse to the painful emotions and to want to get rid of them. Now, it's a natural thing to want to get rid of them. We all do that. But in our practice, anytime there is an aversion, an unwillingness to have an experience, that's a problem. And it's a problem because of two principles by which the mind works. One is whatever you're unwilling to experience tends to stick around in the mind until you are willing to experience it. And second, whatever you're unwilling to experience runs your life. Our lives are spent shaping them in ways which avoid experiences we're unwilling to have. When I was at Stanford doing my psychiatry training, I had a patient who was phobic about bridges, and he would literally drive from somewhere in near Stanford all the way around the bay so he didn't to work and back each day so he didn't have to cross a bridge. It was like, that's a lot of miles to get to and from work to avoid bridges. So it's a good example of what can happen. And what we're unwilling the extent we're unwilling to experience anything also constricts our lives. Now, you're talking about a very sophisticated level of aversion to emotions, but it's very subtle. I mean, this is not, we're not, I work with people who are phobic and have intense aversion to their emotions, but you're talking about something very subtle and which comes on as a deep practice, and that is, as we are increasingly able to work with emotions, there can be these subtle aversions that get fueled. Are we making sense so far? Okay, so a number of ways of working with that. One, to realize that this is a very common trap that comes online as people practice, and the practice gets deeper. But and I speak from deep experience. I mean, when I practiced and discovered the extent of fear we have in our mind, I set myself a mission. I was going to get rid of fear, and I the more I looked, the more fear I saw, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, I was astounded at the amount of fear we have in our minds, in our ordinary minds. And I, fell into the belief, because I didn't know how common this was at the time. I'm a very fearful person. I'd done some crazy sports in my time, like, high diving and circus acrobat and weird things. But I fell into that belief, and then I set out to get rid of fear, and I learned all these relaxation techniques and so forth. And but then what I noticed was I was working hard to get rid of fear, but it set off all these false positives. It's like some experience would arise in the mind. It's like, is that fear? And I get fearful, it would be fear. Because you get secondary reactions. You get angry when you get, if you're not willing to be angry, you get angry when you get angry. If you're fearful, you get fearful when you're fearful. And not only that, it got really weird. It's like, I realized at a certain point, well, if you're really attached to getting rid of fear, what have you got to keep around so you can keep getting rid of it? You've got to keep generating fear so you can get rid of it. I mean, it's such a paradoxical situation. So whatever we're unwilling to experience, the game becomes increasingly one of moving towards and opening to and embracing what we're unwilling to experience. One of the things that in Vipassana is, be open to whatever arises.
Yeah.
But there's an even more helpful attitude, which is welcome whatever arises. And you can say, something arises, anger or fear. Oh, welcome. Welcome. And that just removes the resistance and allows the emotion to begin to do its dance. And the other thing is that if we simply open to and experience difficult emotions, they tend to release and unravel. And one of the beauties of mindfulness or awareness is it has this twofold thing, both of them exquisite. Awareness strengthens positive qualities of mind, and it releases and allows to unravel dysfunctional states of mind, including emotions. So the key is, I would encourage you to have a practice now, just noticing any time you're averse to having a particular experience. Just, oh, okay, good. That's the feedback. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. And at that point, it's the whole spiritual game, there's a judo point of things flip 180 degrees at that point, because you go from having pain, psychological pain is, for the most part, is just like physical pain. It's saying, pay attention. This needs attention. And so at that point, painful emotions switch from something I don't want to, oh, this is a wake-up cue. Okay, thank you. Well, I need to look here. So, so, so it's a beautiful reframe, and reframing is one of the most quickest of all practices for transforming things. Would you like to, I've said a lot. Would you like to comment? Okay, great. One more quick one. It is possible to strengthen particular virtues or qualities or strengths of mind, heart, mind, and in various ways, but one very easy, beautiful way is by thinking of an exemplar, a person who exemplifies a particular quality. So I invite you to sit in meditation and to think of a quality or virtue or capacity of heart, mind that you would like, that would really help you in your life. Maybe it's courage, maybe it's being more loving, maybe it's being more, take your pick, peaceful, whatever it is. Think of a quality of heart, mind that would really benefit you in your life. And now think of someone who embodies and exemplifies that capacity. It might be someone you know, it might be an historical figure, a teacher, anyone who comes to mind as symbolizing and embodying, exemplifying that quality. And see that person in front of you. You're with this person who you're visualizing them in front of you. You're with this person who embodies this quality. And then slowly bring the person closer until you begin to merge. And you fuse into one body mind. And now this person's quality, capacity, strength is part of your psychology, your being. And this strength is one of this capacity, this virtue is now one of your great strengths. And you might notice how this feels in you. How does it feel in the body? And if is there a body posture that's associated with it? And if so, you might like to amplify, intensify that body posture. Let that quality mold your body into the posture corresponding to it, and that will strengthen it and embody it. In the future, you can just evoke that posture as a way of evoking the corresponding strength. Enjoy that quality. And again, I invite you to come back to the room, to our community, not jumping out of that quality, but rather coming from it. And join us. This is a very simple, it's an essentialized practice from a more complex practice that's used in a number of traditions, the yogic tradition, Buddhism, probably others as well, even the ancient shamanic tradition. And you can do it, as you just learned, very simply and quickly. You can use it for multiple qualities. And it's a beautiful, quick way of just cultivating particular strengths of heart mind. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of our time together, so I'm going to give one more practice, and that is often we meditate or do our practice, the bell rings, and then we get up and go about the day. But it can be very helpful to do some conscious reflection at the end of a practice session and to reflect on two things. What insights did you have about yourself, about the mind, about life, about anything? And what did you learn about how to practice? So now, as we come towards the end of our time together, I invite you to reflect on any insights, identify any insights you had. And I invite you to name them as a way of concretizing them and making them easier to hold in memory. Good. And I invite you to reflect on anything you may have learned about how to practice. There are a couple of things that you'll take away about how to practice. Great. And again, I encourage that for any practice session, just taking a minute or two at the end just to reflect and to mine and name some of the insights you've had and what you've learned as a way of crystallizing them and holding them in memory and carrying them away with you. If there's a last comment anyone would like to offer or anything you'd like to share. Beautiful. Great. I'm delighted. Well, I think we are coming to the end. So let's do one final practice, which is a beautiful way of completing any practice, and that is it's called offering the benefits. And what it consists of is just setting an intention that whatever benefit we have gained from a practice session is shared with others. So let's just take a moment to aspire to that our time together, that all we've experienced and shared and learned and enjoyed together, may it serve our welfare and awakening and enable us to serve increasingly well the welfare and awakening of all. Thank you so much for taking this time to be together. A real gift to be with you. Ah, how wonderful. Thanks. Bye.